I decided to write this book because I started hearing from kids. And at first I was shocked. I'd get emails from 12-year-olds who said they were gay and had read my book, Is It a Choice?, which is a question and answer book for adults. And two things upset me about that. One was that I didn't write that book for 12-year-olds, so I talk about some things in there that are a little advanced for young teens. But I was also disturbed because these 12-year-olds had no place to go for information. So when I was offered the opportunity to write a book for young teens, I decided that I would do it. I was very nervous writing a book for kids. When you grow up gay, or at least growing up gay when I was young, you knew you should never have anything to do with kids because it was assumed that we were by nature child molesters. I knew I wasn't a child molester. We know we're not by nature certainly, but you learn to avoid kids, period. So to write a book for kids about gay issues raised every warning bell for me that this is something I shouldn't be doing, that this is bad. Parents will think I'm a bad person. Is there something wrong with me that I'm having something to do with kids? But I decided that the need was so great, and I was already answering questions by email, that it was something I felt ultimately compelled to do. It's very important for young people to have answers to the questions they have. And just because the information isn't there doesn't mean the kids aren't asking the questions and getting answers from some source. So they're asking other kids in the schoolyard, they're hearing things from their parents. And when it comes to gay people, there are so many misconceptions and myths about who we are and how we live our lives that without having access to the true information, and I think of what I write as the truth. Some might say I'm biased. Well, I'm gay, so I certainly have opinions that reflect the fact I'm gay. But I thought it was important to provide unvarnished truth about the lives of gay people and how sexuality develops in young people. I have kids who write to me who say, at age 13, age 14, I'm not sure what my sexual orientation is. Am I a lesbian? Am I not? Am I a gay man? Am I not? And I have the opportunity to write in this book that they don't have to know. That at the age of 13 or 12 or 14 or even 18, you have the opportunity to explore what your true feelings are. So that it's very important when you're that age to listen to what your heart is telling you. And for a lot of these kids, it's a matter of listening to what your hormones are telling you. It's a wild time in life where suddenly you have all of these new feelings and new thoughts, and you don't know exactly what to do with them or how to sort them out. For kids who are gay, those feelings are very confusing because they're often feeling things that they're not supposed to. But there are also kids who wind up growing up straight who have some of those feelings too. And it can get confusing because, let's say you're a gay boy, or your boy's going to grow up to be gay, and you wind up having a crush on a girl. Well, how can you have a crush on a girl if you're in fact gay? But as humans, we have warm feelings toward other humans, no matter what their gender. It doesn't mean we want to follow through and have a sexual relationship, but it might even mean that. So I hear from kids who write to me and say, I'm 16, I think I'm gay, this is for a boy, but I've had sex with a girl, and does that make me straight? So they're very confused, and no one is talking to them about these things. And they don't get the answers they need in the schoolyard, but they can find answers in my book. My book is the book I wish I had been able to find on the bookshelves when I was 13 years old or 14 years old, because in the 1970s, there was nothing like this. I've conducted most of my career in a way that has allowed me to write the books that I wish I had been able to find at the library or the bookstore when I was young, whether the subject is homosexuality or suicide because my dad killed himself when I was young, or on gay history because I never learned about my own history. So I've been writing those books through my career, and it's a tremendous opportunity to be able to do that for young people today. I had thought when I had the opportunity to rewrite What If Someone I Know Is Gay for Simon & Schuster that I would do some very light editing because I thought the book was close to perfect when I wrote it the first time. The fun thing about rewriting a book is that you do get to go back and look at it and then realize that your work was not necessarily perfect the first time. So it wasn't. And I also worked with a young woman who is a specialist on human sexuality and just had done a book of her own. And she came back after reading the book and said, this book isn't personal enough and it's really uptight. And I read it with an eye toward that and realized the book was pretty uptight. It reflected the fact that I was nervous writing it the first time, and I was reluctant to include a lot of my own stories about growing up gay. So as much torture as it was for me to include personal stories, and I'm inclined to ask people about their lives and not talk about my own, I included a lot of my own personal stories in this new edition. I also trimmed some questions out of the book. I added some new questions. And I think most importantly, for both kids and for parents, I added an entire chapter for parents. In the years since I first wrote this book, I have begun hearing from parents routinely who want to know how they can raise a great gay kid. And they ask me this question because they have recognized when their child is very young that their kid might be gay. This is more typical of parents who recognize they have a gay boy than parents who recognize they've got a gay daughter. But there are also people who write to me about their daughters. And unlike the old days, 20, 30 years ago, when parents would contact me in tears and say, what can I do? How can I change my child? These parents were writing to me or calling to ask how they can raise a great gay kid. How can they protect their kid from being bullied at school? How accepting should they be of their little boy who likes to buy dolls at the American Girl store? Is it okay for my kid to go to summer camp, or what kind of summer camp should my kid go to if he's gay? So it was essential, I thought, in this edition to put a chapter in for the parents of these kids who are going to be reading the book. But I also wanted young people and teens to know what their parents were interested in knowing. Because sometimes I hear from very young kids, 12, 13, 14, and I'm corresponding with one kid now, who is terrified of telling his mom that he's gay, even though she's already told him, if you're gay, it's okay with me and I'll love you just the same. I have friends who are my age, who are his parents' age, who have kids who they think are gay. And they're in the position of being the parent saying, I know my kid is gay. He's unhappy. I can't draw him out on this. And what's his problem? Why won't he tell me? So I find myself now in the position of telling a kid who's 14, I know your mother needs to hear from you. You need her as an ally at this stage of your life. So I'm hoping that by putting a chapter in the book specifically for parents, parents will learn what they need to do. Kids will read what their parents are thinking so that it will help communication between the two groups. It's so sad for me to hear from these kids who are terrified their parents will reject them, and from the parents who want to reach out to their kids, don't know how, or are trying to reach out, but the kids are too afraid. So everyone would be a lot happier if they could talk, which isn't to say that all parents are sensitive to their gay kids or that all gay kids can come out to their parents, because there are parents who kids cannot talk to and should not, and I make that point in the book as well. When I wrote this book and gave it a title, I thought very carefully about how I could make gay kids comfortable if it were a book they wanted to read. I didn't write this book just for gay kids. I wrote the book for all young people to learn about sexuality, specifically about gay sexuality. But a certain percentage of the kids who will read this book are gay or think they might be gay. And if I wrote it in a way that suggested that anyone who read the book was gay, that would have been a problem because they might not pick up the book. If I gave it a title that suggested you were gay, they might not pick it up. So I gave the book a title, What If Someone I Know Is Gay, that's broad enough that anyone can read this book. And if someone saw you reading the book, they wouldn't assume that you were gay. And if they said, oh, are you reading this because you're gay? You could say, no, what does the book say? It says, what if someone I know is gay? I'm reading this because I think you might be gay. So it gives kids an out. I know this because I remember being 16 or 17, well, 17 or 18, and at the library at Vassar College, terrified that someone would see me pulling a book from the shelf that was gay, because they might think I was gay. And I know from people who've written to me over the years that when they've gone to buy my books at the bookstore, they've been nervous, because when you take it to the counter, like The Male Couples Guide, my first book, who's going to buy the book but someone who's gay? And the person behind the counter is going to see them. And it might not sound like a big deal to a straight person, but for someone who's gay and afraid how people are going to react, holding a book in their hands, trying to buy it, when you think the person looking at you across the counter recognizes that you're gay, something bad, at least something bad in the eyes of a lot of people, that's not a good thing. So I did this book in a way that I hope gay people will feel comfortable reading and holding, and even having at home, without anyone having to freak out thinking that someone might think they're gay. One of the fun things I've done during the process of writing this book is updating my website so that I have a whole section now just for this book. There are questions and answers specifically for parents. There are questions and answers specifically for young people. There are sample questions, so you get to see what the book is about. And also, I've included this time some clips from YouTube of some of the appearances I've made on various television shows, including a fun interview with Bill O'Reilly some years ago about my book, Is It a Choice? My web address is www.ericmarcus.com. That's EricMarcus. I hope readers will take away from this book that they don't have to worry as much as they do, because that's what I hear from people who write to me, whether it's kids who think they're gay, straight kids who've got gay friends who they think won't want to be friends with them anymore because they only want to be friends with their gay friends, or they're afraid to ask their gay friends if they're gay, or parents who I hear from who are unsure whether or not their kid is gay and they want to be a good parent. So I hope what they'll take away from this book is all the information they need to make decisions about how to conduct their lives, how to have their friendships, how to be good parents. And I don't mean to suggest that everything is going to be here in this one book. It's a little book, but it's a good introduction to all of the subjects that relate to homosexuality, whether you're a parent, whether you're a straight kid, whether you're a gay kid. And I hope they take away a sense that gay people are not some strange creature. We don't live under rocks. We have feelings like everybody else. We want to have lives like everybody else. Some of us want to get married and have kids. Others of us don't. But that we are different and we have a different place within society because of who we are. That may not be true forever because the world is evolving. So perhaps we won't be considered different always, but we'll always be a minority group because only a small percentage of the population is gay. So I hope people get information, and I hope they can relax about the information they read and go on and lead their lives.